Hi guys, today I want to discuss the possible time period and climate conditions when the Egyptian pyramids were constructed. Were they built during the African humid period when the Sahara was green and fertile, or were they created during the desert period, similar to today? Pyramid builders had incredible construction skills, which were directly correlated with their technology level. I believe they were in many ways more advanced than us. Modern structures are often designed to be suitable for their local climates, and the pyramids were likely built with that in mind as well. In previous videos, I proposed that the Egyptian stone pyramids might be remnants of ancient mining operations from a lost advanced civilization. These large pyramids are accompanied with underground shafts and tunnel systems that might have been excavated from mining. Large pyramids are massive structures which were built with millions of tons of blocks. The resources, labor, and time spent during their construction had to have been astronomical. However, these extraordinary structures all have very minimal interior spaces, mostly under 1/10,000th of the volume. If the goal was to create chambers and passages, then it's completely not necessary to pile up so many blocks and build these almost solid structures. What's the point of using so much building material to create so little usable interior space? Unless the goal was to store as many blocks safely and efficiently as possible. Furthermore, the entryways and passages inside the pyramids are all very small and treacherous. That's not suitable for humans to get in and out. I think these are indicators that the pyramid's interiors were not designed for human access, and the interiors were not the main purpose or focus of the pyramids. Considering the possibility that the underground shaft and tunnel systems around the pyramids were excavated for mining operations, then the nearby pyramids could be carefully designed and precisely constructed cemented mine tailing and waste rock storage piles. The interior openings inside the pyramids and the mine waste storage sites might be designed for structural and utilitarian purposes. I hypothesize they could serve a dual purpose, both as a seepage water drainage system along with an acid drainage treatment system, all of which would facilitate water accumulated inside the pyramid draining away faster to maintain structural stability and minimize the formation of acid mine drainage to protect the groundwater and the environment. The amazing thing is that these drainage systems are still functional today because we can see effluents and salt deposits in multiple pyramids, such as the Great Pyramids of Giza, the Red and Bent Pyramids. Efflorescence is a white pottery deposit of water-soluble salts left on the masonry surface as the water evaporates. Moisture is the key to this phenomenon, and the moisture usually comes from inside the stone and brings salts and minerals to the surface. Seeing efflorescence inside the pyramids means moisture and seepage water are still directed to these openings. The white residues we see in the photos are not dust because the pyramid chambers are isolated from the outside with very small and long passages. Therefore, the interior should be pretty much dust-free. The pyramid's interiors get cleaned periodically by park employees. Depending on what photos you're looking at, sometimes we see salt deposits, sometimes we don't. I think the photos correlate with when the cleaning occurred, since there has been ongoing moisture and salt accumulation. I received a good question concerning my earlier videos. If the interior system in the Great Pyramid was meant for drainage, then why does the giant pyramid only have 4 air shafts as drainage channels? These shafts are merely 9 inches or 23 centimeters square. Wouldn't they be too small to act as drainage channels in a massive pyramid? Now, this question is directly related to when and in what kind of climate the pyramids were built. Was there a lot of rain, or was it as dry as now? Egyptian pyramids are all close to the Cairo region, which has a desert climate. Currently in Cairo, the total annual precipitation ranges between 18 mm to 26 mm. That is 0.7 to 1 inch. The wettest month is January, when an average of 7 mm, 0.3 inch of rain occurs. Let's stop for a second and imagine a vast area that only gets 1 inch of rainfall in the entire year. That is a very dry and arid place. But this area is not always this dry. North African climate cycles have a unique history that can be traced back millions of years. The cyclic climate pattern of the Sahara is characterized by significant shifts in the strength of the North African monsoon. When the North African monsoon is at its strongest, annual precipitation and consequently vegetation in the Sahara region increase, resulting in conditions commonly referred to as the Green Sahara. For a relatively weak North African monsoon, there will be decreased annual precipitation and less vegetation, resulting in the Desert Sahara. We are now in the Desert Sahara time, hence there is merely 1 inch of annual precipitation in Cairo. If the pyramids were built within a similar climate, then the internal drainage system of the Great Pyramid wouldn't need to be sizable, and small shafts should be sufficient. Some might ask, if the pyramids were built in a desert with almost no rain, and they were covered with dense casing stones as a protective layer from water and air, then why would they need internal drainage systems at all? Here is the thing. As dry as it is, Egypt occasionally receives heavy rainstorms. In desert areas, there is no sufficient topsoil and vegetation to absorb the storm water, and when heavy rainfalls arrive, they are usually followed by devastating flash floods. We have seen such disastrous events in recent news before. The Great Pyramid covers over 53,000 square meters, which is over 13 acres, or 5.3 hectares. That's equivalent to almost 10 American football fields, or 7 soccer fields. For structures this gigantic, it would be indeed necessary to include internal drainage systems, even when they were built in a desert climate, since the structures still need to deal with sporadic and serious rainstorms. Another thing worth mentioning is that concrete and stone are strong building materials, but they are porous and not waterproof. People living with stone countertops know that stone can be very porous, and red wine can easily leave a stain. Concrete is similar. Today, both concrete and stone surfaces need to be sealed against moisture, and that seal must be maintained, or the moisture could affect the structural integrity of the material. Even with high-quality casing stones, water still can be absorbed into the concrete surface or joints around it to get into the pyramids. During heavy rainstorms, the pyramid casing stones might get saturated and water would seep through. Plus, if the pyramids were designed to be permanent mine waste storage, then the design would need to be covering a wide range of possibilities and situations, including water seepage and accumulation inside the pyramids. But was it possible that the pyramids were built during the Green Sahara period? How humid was it back then? More importantly, how much more rainfall did the pyramid sets get? Is that why we see the heavy water erosion marks at the Sphinx surrounding walls? Let's take a look at this intriguing Green Sahara period. Paleoclimatic and archaeological evidence tell us that 11,000 to 5,000 years ago, the Earth's slow orbital wobble transformed today's Sahara Desert to a land covered with lush vegetation and lakes. During that time, the Sahara was green and fertile, with a brief period of dryness around 8,200 years ago. This period is known as the most recent African humid period, the Holocene AHP. I think the pyramids were probably built before this wet period. Here is a chart showing the Green and Desert Sahara periods in northern Africa during the last 230,000 years, which covers the last 2 glacial cycles. We can see that the humid period before the Holocene AHP happened around 87,000 to 78,000 years ago. HS1, the millennial drought, happened between 18 to 15,000 years ago, is the time period that coincided with the severe human population bottleneck, which I think could be the ending of an advanced civilization. I made a video on the population bottleneck, and the link is in the upper right corner. If the pyramids were built between 78,000 to 15,000 years ago, then the climate would be as dry, if not drier, than today. What if the pyramids were constructed during the Green Sahara time? From a paper published on Nature Communications in 2019, I found some very interesting information. Quote, "These suggest a minimal impact, if at all, of the monsoonal hydrological systems on eastward dust emissions out of northern Sahara. Hence the northeastern extension of African humid period humidity, which suppressed dust emissions by at least 50% between 10 and 5,000 years ago, was constrained south of latitude about 22 degrees north. These results reflect, in agreement with the established millennial inverse correlation between precipitation and dust fluxes, increased weather conditions relatively to present that existed in Western Sahara up to 28 degrees north during the African humid period." End quote. I'm citing these particular latitudes from the paper for a reason. The Egyptian pyramids are located above 29 degrees north, which means they were out of the monsoon region during the Green Sahara period. This is a graph showing the climatic records of the African humid period on a map. According to these scientists, this is the proposed northernmost range of African monsoon precipitation, and this is the approximate northern extent of evidence supporting wetter conditions during that time. In short, during the Holocene African humid period, the areas below the latitude 22 degrees north received a lot more rainfall, thus the Green Sahara formed. However, the pyramids are located further north and not in that wet region. Therefore, even during the African humid period, the pyramid sites likely didn't receive much rain. That's a bit surprising, isn't it? Whether the Egyptian pyramids were built during the wet or dry period seems to not matter that much, since this region has received small amounts of rainfall in both situations. Here I want to clarify that even though the rainfall increase was negligible in the Great Cairo area, the region was still wetter during the humid period. That's because the monsoon brought more abundant rain in the south. The Nile and other southern upstream rivers had been replenished. These upstream rivers flow down and recharge water sources in northern regions. So overall, this was a greener and more fertile time. Okay, now I think it's safe to say that the pyramids were probably designed and built for a dry climate with minimum precipitation and sporadic rainstorms. For this reason, the internal drainage system of the pyramids were site-specific, and the small shafts were designed to be suitable for a low rainfall location. On another note, it's possible that there were more air shafts to be discovered. Small openings like the air shafts are probably hard to detect. Like the niches in a coffee subterranean chamber haven't been investigated to date. I also think the upper interior system in the Great Pyramid might be experimental, just like the eight-sided feature, because the later, more advanced Khafre pyramid is neither eight-sided nor has above-ground chambers. The complex interior system in the Great Pyramid might not be necessary after all. But if the Giza Plateau didn't have much additional rainfall during the African humid period, how can we explain the severe water erosions at the walls around the Sphinx? Does that mean the age of the Sphinx might be more ancient than we have assumed? What might be related to or the cause of the water erosion of the Sphinx walls? In comparison, The walls at the west side of the pyramid are not as badly eroded as the ones at the Sphinx. Could the Sphinx have been constructed before the pyramids? This is something worth exploring. I'll discuss my findings in the next video. If you have any insights, please leave me a comment. If you like my video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell button so you'll be notified when I upload new videos. If you want to support me, my Patreon link is below. I have a wide range of topics that I want to share with you. This is Curious Being. I'm Tina. Thanks for watching and see you next time.